Joining me at this point is Major Mohammed Ali Shah, defense expert. Ali, a very good morning to you.
Morning, Reed.
Looking sharp as usual. What's going on in Ukraine, Ali? Conscripts have obviously been used in this war. You know, there was this understanding that Russia did not need newer soldiers to defend its cause. And here we are, Russia in fact violating a number of rules under the Geneva Pact.
Absolutely, Vineet. You know, Russia is definitely violating a whole lot of rules under the Geneva Pact, but both the countries for that matter, even Ukraine has said that we will not take surrender of any German soldiers. We'll straight away shoot them, we'll straight away kill them. So, as it is said, you know, all is fair in love and war, which is very unfortunate and very sad. But at the same time, Leo Tolstoy said, being peaceful is better than being right.
Ali, coming back to you, continue with your thought and also address, this matter of conscripts, being used by Russia for this particular war.
Vineet, until Russia actually went and attacked Ukraine on 21st February, in fact, 21st itself, the writing on the wall was very clear. The moment he announced independence of two Donbass areas, we knew why he was doing it. It was to utilize the Article 7 of the UNO Act. So now every whole world knew what he was up to. That is why the international community got against him. Now, until then, Vineet, we all have presumed that there is not going to be a war for various reasons. We all were speculating that, and as per Russia, and as President Putin puts it, it's not a war, it's a military action, because he's covered by Article 7 of the UNO, which says that it's a military action. Fine. Now look at when the NATO gets involved as per the Article 5, which we all know that Austro-Hungary Empire. Now he was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist. A month later, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and the Triple Entente, the USSR, France, Britain, and the Triple Alliance, the Germany, Italy, Austria-Hungary, they fought. And at that time, Vineet, the German Navy had actually Britain, and they had cut off all supplies towards Britain. That the plan was to choke them ultimately. But then what happened from 16th March to 18th March, the German Navy sank 3 US ships, and US President Woodrow Wilson, he was very clear that no, we will not enter the World War I no matter what. 2014, 2015, 16, 2017, they refrained. Now when America started feeling the heat, that is when President Woodrow Wilson, he declared the war on Germany because they had sunk their ships. Now we go to World War II. The Axis powers, the Germany, Italy, and the Allies. The Allies, the Italy, USA. So here, that time again, a similar pattern. It was on 1st September 19 when the Second World War was now breaking out. You know, the Britain's Queen Elizabeth had written a letter in 1983, a speech prepared for the World War III, that how she and her sister, what she went through, the ordeal how they survived the Second World War. In fact, Dan Quayle, the former Vice President of US, he mentioned that the world is almost on the verge of a World War III. And an African politician who was an aspiring president over there of that country, Adamu Gorba, he gave a very ridiculous statement that if a World War III happens, it would be only good for Africa. I don't know how, don't ask me that, but he has given the statement, he received a lot of flack on that. Because he said, because African countries stayed out of World War I and World War II, that is why they remain poor. So, I mean, it was a very... So now if you see again, Sergei Lavrov, the French foreign minister, he said the Third World War would be nuclear. And also, Albert Einstein had said the Fourth World War would be fought with stones and clubs and sticks. Right?
Because there will nothing be left, Ali. Because there will nothing be left. Ali, just hold on to that thought. What you're saying is extremely interesting. Mohammed Ali Shah, still with us on the broadcast. Ali, you were talking about, a nuclear kind of a scenario building up. But before we can talk about a full-fledged nuclear conflict, there is this concern about these nuclear facilities, Ali, in Ukraine, which are being attacked, they are being not maintained, and the possibility, Ali, of radiation leak is worse at this point in time than an actual nuclear attack, because if a radiation leak does happen, Ali, it's not only going to impact Russia and Ukraine, but 2/3 of Eastern and Central Europe could come under that kind of a threat.
Absolutely, Vineet. It is really, when Russia attacked the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, it was a worrying sign. And but there are a lot of people who will say that no, it would not be a threat, it would be a threat. I will explain to you why. A lot of people will actually speak beneath. They will tell you, no, it's my perception. No, I'm very logically. Now, a power plant is very well protected, very, very well protected. When you see something at danger, 440 volts, I'm giving a small example so that everyone can understand this. So when you see an electric pole or a pillar where danger 444 volts, so it is actually dangerous. And again, a nuclear power plant has got a lot of protective layers, but yet now if there is a nuclear leak, yes, that radiation can affect a lot of people in a lot of, I take example of like Chernobyl, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. After the bombings, you see the effects are still, till today it's felt. I'll give you the example, so it was not nuclear, but Bhopal gas tragedy. Again, the effects are disastrous. Now, when we say that the Russian foreign minister himself had said the Third World War is going to get nuclear, well, it is a very, very dangerous sign. Now, also, President Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has spoken to President Vladimir Putin for 90 minutes, over 90 minutes. But then, that time President Putin had said he wants the entire Ukraine. And then President Emmanuel said that, okay, the worst is yet to come. So all these are signs of danger, which we actually should be taking seriously. Now the golden question to ask over here is, are we prepared for an eventuality? Contingency planning. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I hope it won't happen. Even you hope it's not going to happen. But are we actually prepared? Are we hoping for the best and preparing for the worst? Now let me tell you a few more things now. China is not getting along with Taiwan. It is said in the next decade or so, China can take military action on Taiwan as well. And it can happen any moment also. So I'm not panicking. I'm not trying to be an alarmist. That is not my intention. But the intention is, yes, let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. China at the same time is not getting along with the neighbors in the South China Sea, like Vietnam, with the Philippines, with Malaysia. It's got its own fair share of problems. Look at this. Iran is fighting with Israel. Iran is fighting with US. I mean, we have just come out of a Palestine, Jerusalem bloodbath over there. So the world is actually coming. So this only proves that man's actual enemy is not a ghost, which people so-called fear, or a tiger. It is man himself. There's havoc. There is war going on in Yemen. There's war going on in Syria, which people are not really much talking about. So there's havoc going on. And if you see, where have the people from Ukraine? Over 1 million people have left Ukraine. Over 1 million people. It's devastation happening. Their families, their civilians being killed. And where have they gone? They've gone to the nearby countries. They've gone to Germany. They've gone to Hungary. They've gone to Romania. They've gone to Russia. Not the Ukrainians, but the Indians especially. They have escaped also from the east, from Russia side.
Ali, in your opinion, how useless has NATO rendered itself to be after this crisis? They egged on Ukraine to come and join them, but everybody knew that Ukraine was never going to be allowed inside the NATO, and still, this atmosphere of inclusion was created, which irked Russia, and now we find ourselves in this kind of a situation. But the macro idea over here, Ali, is that the world order perhaps is going to be changing. Vladimir Putin can do whatever he wants with Ukraine, but at the end, Russia will come out as a world power once again, toe to toe, pound for pound against the Americans after this conflict is over.
Oh, well, it will take them a lot of time, because already the ruble has fallen so badly. And bread, for example, I'll give you an example of bread, wheat, which is actually a day-to-day life. We all eat bread. You eat bread, I eat bread, people who are listening to us eat bread. They will be affected. Now, also the economy, Russia is going to drown. Let me tell this to you. He was only being over-ambitious, trying to regain its lost glory, or trying to defend its borders against NATO forces. Because if Ukraine would have joined NATO, then NATO forces, and nobody would like it. If you see from Belarus, it's like a spear. It's like a dagger poking into the heart of Russia. So Now the NATO forces would have entered Ukraine and they would have also dominated from the Black Sea, where Crimea is. So nobody would like that. It would be, Russia would be losing influence, but it would have been a lot for him to gain had he gone ahead with Ukraine and not allowed NATO forces to be there. But also, if you see, we read in the history in 1991, it says James Baker, the foreign secretary of USA, had given a word to Mikhail Gorbachev that there would be not an inch expansion towards East Germany of NATO. But in 4 phases, they inducted 14 nations. 2004, we saw more nations. 2008, it was Georgia. And that was the time when Russia drew a red line that no, Russia, that Georgia and Ukraine would not enter NATO at any cost. And in fact, he joked lightly also. In 2007 itself, he had given a very friendly warning, in fact, in a very light manner. It was not taken seriously. Thereafter, in 2014, when he attacked Crimea, that is the time he could have actually taken Ukraine had he wanted to. But if you see, again, Vineet, a lot of people are thinking, what is this war about? Why can't it end? But you know, a small spark can lead to a huge fire. A small throw in the river can actually lead to a tsunami. So the ripple effect, the domino effect, it is so strong. It goes one after the other. And now people who are leaving Ukraine are going to Romania, Belarus, the neighboring countries. So already, knowingly or unknowingly, invisibly, many of the countries are already involved. Now, when we talk about NATO putting their feet on the ground, their boots on the ground, that is going to be difficult. Also, you know, just 2 days back, Poland had offered their MiG-29s that we will offer our fighter planes.
Yeah, and, well, the humanitarian fallout, Ali, for Russia is perhaps even going to be worse than the sanctions that have been imposed.
You know, I feel sorry for the citizens, for normal civilians, the people of Russia as well, because just because of 2 presidents who are fighting, President Putin and President Zelensky, who has been made out to be a hero. Now let me tell you, people who are making out to be a hero, no one is right in a war. Everyone is wrong. What matters is who is left behind to survive, to live. That's what happens. And now worst part is, these 2 presidents, ultimately their people are suffering and they do not realize. They are so influenced that, oh, we'll fight, we are patriots. I respect that. I respect that spirit of fighting. Being an army man, we do not believe in surrender, we believe in fighting, yes. But in 1971, 95,000, we had taken 95,000 prisoners of war from Pakistan. From East Pakistan, General J.F.R. Jacob had gone ahead and he had played in a way a psychological warfare also to General Niazi, and they had surrendered. So I feel when, like in army, we are taught about an attack, defense, and a tactical withdrawal. In fact, Sun Tzu, in The Art of War, he's a Chinese author. His books are taught all over the world about the art of war. Just like as an anchor or as an actor, you want to have a craft. Similarly, war also has a craft. And it has, though my ancestors, Vineet, fought in the First World War, they fought in the Second World War. My father fought in the 1971 war, who ultimately retired from the army as a deputy chief of the army staff. He says in 40 years, it was difficult for him to understand war is what, and here a lot of information warfare is going on. If you see, Russian time was banned all over. There's no way that, you know, regarding sanctions, there's no way that Russia can
Ali, do you think that this information warfare is, you know, highly lopsided at this point in time? You know, you have the Western media, which is continuously attacking what Russia is doing. They are, in fact, bringing out these stories of, humanitarian element from Ukraine, but nobody is talking about what's going on with Russia, what's going on in Russia rather. You know, nobody's talking about that. Do you think that this entire coverage has been lopsided on behalf of the Western media?
100%, Vineet, 100%. Now, see, if we have to take a balanced view, if we are going to be fair, now we are not going to side with anyone because so and so is a friend. First, let's accept it. Our self-interest for the country comes first, always and every time, and thereafter, okay, so as a friend and ally, you will not let your countrymen to suffer and go out of your way and help somebody else where your countrymen are suffering. First, even Mr. Trimurti had said our first priority would be to vacate all the 20,000 students safely back homes from Ukraine, and which we did. Our Operation Ganga was very successful. Now, yes, it is totally one lopsided media, because obviously the Western media will project Russia, Vladimir Putin, to be a villain. In fact, Russians to be a villain. Why only Vladimir Putin? Russians. And look at the plight of Russians also. They have no access to Netflix. I'll take a very light view, which people like a common person sees and normally uses in a day-to-day life. And Netflix, it's a very small thing actually. Netflix, Prime Amazon, no McDonald's, no KFC, Google Pay. They become
No
a part
Swift,
of,
no Swift.
no Swift, no Swift.
Ali,
Now,
Russia is the largest importer of Indian tea. You know, this has already started to affect India.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%. And you know, when oil prices go up, Vineet, it is not going to be like, oh, oil prices have gone up, so petrol is going to be heavy, it's expensive. It'll be difficult for me to go to office.
Okay.
No.
Ali, despite what's going on, despite all the observations, the brilliant observations that you have been educating us about, it is also a moment to reflect upon how India has been able to safeguard its position, not only when it comes to its citizens that are stranded in Ukraine, but also, you know, India's very balanced and nuanced stand at the UNSC.
Absolutely, Vineet. And I think, see, in USC, about 181 countries had voted over there, and out of which 141 countries voted for against Russia's actions. And obviously, for humanity's sake, who was going to agree on that? And there were 4 countries in favor of what Russia is doing. Of course, and Belarus, North Korea, we can anticipate which countries were they and why they were supporting Russia at the same time. But now at the same time, you know, there are always 2 sides to a coin. You always clap with 2 hands. People only tend to see one side of the story. You know, so for example, if 2 people are having a fight, in a common man's language, if I have to explain, we will favor the person, the aggressor. We would favor the underdog. Why he's getting bashed, he's getting, oh, poor thing. It's human psychology at the end of the day. But we do not tend to see the other side of the coin. Many times we don't know the other story. And now, obviously, I am not favoring Russia or Ukraine. I'm giving a very balanced view over here. Now, when you cut off it from the entire world, you isolate that country completely, and there is no access for that person to give out any information. How do you expect a common person like you and me or anyone listening to us will know the view of that person? It's very easy to judge a person, but very difficult to actually know exactly the history behind it. Now, Russia also was provoked. That does not give any right to attack. That I totally am 100% on that. You know, in fact, a lot of people I know who were supporting Russia, who was earlier, they were saying that, you know, that no, Russia is being provoked. Yes, they were provoked for many years. And it's a proxy war, Vineet. It's a proxy war. What Pakistan is doing to us, they're sending in militants in Jammu Kashmir and they're fighting and they're using that as a weapon. Proxy war, like in school or college, when you bunk a class, you tell somebody else, okay, you give my attendance and I do my proxy. Similarly, it's a fight it's a Cold War game. I will not make any bones about not terming it as a Cold War II, in fact, because in a way that, you know, America and Russia in the late 80s, I'm talking about, they were in a Cold War, and that time America had even used mujahids when the Afghan-Russian war was on to fight against the Soviets. Osama bin Laden was a young mujahid at that time on 9th.
Right. Major Mohammed Ali Shah, appreciate you joining us.